Have you ever woken up in the morning and thought to yourself, I want to run with lions today, but a full African safari is too expensive? Don't worry, Mexico has got your back. Or maybe in this case, I should say, has your hide? Not really sure, but I can guarantee you there will be lions in this video. Obviously, I survived because I'm narrating this video, but this is just a narration, so I guess you'll have to keep watching to see if this crazy road trip to this African safari, to see if we survive this trip with all of our limbs. It is a beautiful Friday afternoon, and we are going out to the countryside so that we can be eaten by a lion. So come along and see how long a day lasts in front of a lion. You won't want to miss it. Welcome to Africam Safari, about 40 minutes on the outskirts of the city of Puebla, Mexico. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, there's some kind of gimmick to this, all right? Not really. There are gates and fences and stuff, but that is just to keep the animals inside. There are not really many barriers once you go through that gate. Once you pay your $50, sign the waiver, you are in with the animals. Remember, this is Mexico. If something happens to you or your car while you're in the park, it's all up to you. There's no type of insurance policy that I know of that will cover this type of craziness. But don't worry, there is a gift shop and plenty of snack huts, so you won't be running on an empty stomach. Here at the Africa Safari, we opted for one level higher than the basic service, which was $150 for 4 people, so that we get a guided tour. So we're going over here to the Adventure Zone, is what it's called. And we're gonna go into the Adventure Zone and take a guided tour, and we'll see how that goes. This is the Adventure Zone. The Adventure Zone is kind of an educational zone that is fenced off from the animals. There are several of these spaces in the park because it isn't really a good idea to be walking around with wild animals, and they highly encourage you to stay in your vehicle at all times when you're anywhere else. Speaking of vehicles, we decided we did not have the bravado to drive our own car through the park, even though, as you can see, several people did drive their own cars. And as a side note, I only saw one car get stuck, and that happened over by the bear area. So it was kind of interesting seeing them have to be towed out of the bear enclosure. With our upgraded guided tour, we got to go through the park on a double-decker bus. This bus did not have air conditioning, but it did have fans that did a great job of blowing the aromas of the animals in your faces. Just in case you're wondering what wildlife smells like, just forget to wash your gym socks for a week, and you too can say that you had an African safari adventure. Except this is Mexico, so we're going to say you had a Mexican safari adventure. The animals we saw were very chill. They looked to me like they were very well cared for, and despite the animals being able to mingle with each other, I didn't observe any fighting between the species. They all seemed to self-group themselves. I enjoyed the baby animals the most. There was a baby giraffe and a baby elephant. I think the baby elephant was showing off because the baby elephant was having way too much fun creating a dust storm for us.
The rhinos over here.
As you can see, there are not many barriers to touching the animals. Here's a family who stopped and was taking selfies with a rhino. I'm not sure if that's my thing, but they were with a park ranger, so I'm going to go that it's okay to do that. The other thing that was interesting about this park was the amount of animals that they had. It wasn't just like 1 or 2 of each species. They had at least like 10 each of each species. The rams were like 60 of them. That is why you want to always drive slow in this park, because you don't want a whole herd of gazelles rushing up on you. I saw that movie, and stampedes are not a good way to go. One indicator of how well the animals were doing in the zoo is that they don't trim the feathers on any of their birds. These flamingos could fly anywhere they wanted to, but they just stayed in their lagoon. There is nothing to stop them from leaving. There are two closed off areas in the park that have two different types of predators. The first closed off area was the bear enclosure. The bears were very chill. The second enclosed area is called the Valley of the Kings, and it is the most popular area. Only 3 cars at a time can be in the Valley of the Kings, so sometimes a line would form, but we were on a guided tour, so there was no wait for us. There were about 20 lions in the Valley of the Kings, a whole pride. They even had a pride rock. It was kind of crazy to be eye to eye with these magnificent creatures, but the lions themselves were not very impressed with us. It was the afternoon, so most of the lions were just interested in lying around. The last part of the tour was at the Morocco Plaza base, where we got to see hippos, more lions, and some monkeys. The gift shops were kind of generic, but the theming in the buildings was very nice. The Africam Safari Mexico started in 1972 by a guy named Carlos Camacho Espiritu. He was a Mexican Air Force pilot and a very successful businessman. He dealt in pharmaceuticals, and his business trips took him to Africa, where he dreamed of African safaris. He had a dream of Mexicans being able to have that sensation of being out with Mother Nature and close to the wildlife. Unfortunately, he did get a little too close to the wildlife, and in 1976, when he was playing with his tigers mauled him to death. But that didn't stop the park from operating. His daughter now owns the park and has continued to operate this very popular local attraction in Mexico. I can't say for sure this adventure was safe or not. It didn't look to me that it was all that dangerous because all the animals that I saw were very chill. But it was still kind of weird to have that much access to wild animals. We hope you enjoyed this look into a very interesting zoo. I'm curious if this is something that you would try. We had a fun time and left with all of our limbs intact. Until next time, stay curious, and we will see you in the next video.